Binge or Bin from Independent TV, giving you the lowdown on which TV shows are binge-worthy and which ones are bin-worthy. This week, we've been watching Peter Jackson's epic Beatles documentary Get Back and Disney Plus's brand new Marvel show Hawkeye.
We've also caught up with the BBC's new Freddie Mercury documentary as well as True Story starring Kevin Hart on Netflix.
And we'll introduce you to our picks of hidden gems we think you should be watching.
Hey Jacob.
Hi Annabel, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you.
Good. So, let's talk TV. You've been watching the new Beatles documentary?
I have. I've been watching the new Beatles documentary, which is titled Get Back on Disney+. It's basically Peter Jackson, the director of The Lord of the Rings himself, has waded through over 50 hours of footage from the Let It Be sessions, which basically when John, Paul, George and Ringo had a month essentially to write 15 songs, and they were going to end that with a live TV performance, which ended up as the classic rooftop gig in Savile Row in London.
Okay, I'm rolling.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Why it's so intoxicating is that this is a time when there were a lot of myths surrounding the Beatles and whether they liked each other. It was perceived to be quite a tumultuous time for them. But this completely kind of bucks that view that has been there for, more than 50 years. And seeing them all writing songs together, getting on, joking, quipping, and having the odd fight is just so refreshing to see that history isn't as cast iron as we thought it has been. Peter Jackson described this as rewriting history, and I would say that's not an inaccurate statement. It does feel like we're watching something for the first time, getting a new view on something we thought we knew so well. And also knowing the lyrics to the songs so as well as we do now, seeing the Beatles themselves, not having the lyrics yet, and then they're kind of throwing them out there, and you as a viewer know what it's going to be, and you're shouting out the words at the screen. There's an excitement to it as well. It's just a fascinating insight into a time in music history. So what Peter Jackson and his production company Wingnut have done is they've waded through the footage and they compressed it down to 8 hours, and they've enhanced some effects so it actually feels like it feels like they're in the room. I've woken up feeling like I've hung out with the Beatles.
So it all sounds really great. Is it a binge or a bin?
It is a complete binge.
Something in the way she moves. What attracted me at all?
Just say whatever comes into your head each time. Attracts me like a cauliflower until you get the word.
So from one music documentary to another, Annabel, you've been watching BBC's new Freddie Mercury documentary, right?
Yes, I have. So it's a 90-minute program. It does just cast this new light on his life and his legacy just by looking at these final years of his life before he died of complications of AIDS in 1991. And I think that's so impressive and such a testament to the filmmakers behind this. This program kind of starts at the high point of Queen's career in 1986. And from there, the producers do a really good job at kind of interweaving the singer's life with the wider AIDS epidemic and kind of this culture of shame and homophobia and fear and stigma that was surrounding that time and that sense of place as well. They spend a lot of time also about his bandmates and his admirers, his fans and fellow musicians kind of trying to protect his legacy in the wake of his death, and also before his death when his diagnosis came out.
We've done the biggest tour ever of our lives, and Freddie said, I can't do this anymore after this. And we went, oh.
So the program is a mix of newly uncovered interviews, including with Freddie Mercury's sister, as well as just really incredible access to archival footage that you've not seen before. It's really a moving and sensitive and just really loving portrayal of Freddie Mercury. And it's by James Rogan, and he is a filmmaker, and he, in a recent interview, called making the film a really rare privilege. So his previous work has also included other documentaries, including the BBC docuseries Stephen about the murder of Stephen Lawrence. The subject matter is so different, obviously, from the final act, but he has just shown routinely that he knows how to handle footage and sensitive topics courageously.
It sounds like a lovely way to commemorate Freddie Mercury, but would you say it's worth a watch? Is it a binge or a bin?
I mean, you may have guessed, but it's definitely a binge.
I've been watching Hawkeye, which is the latest of Marvel's Disney Plus TV shows, focusing on the character Hawkeye, Clint Barton, his name is, played by Jeremy Renner. This show focuses on him passing the mantle over to a younger female version of Hawkeye called Kate Bishop, who's played by Haley Steinfeld, who obviously was in True Grit. Really good actress, actually, and absolutely elevates everything around her. And she's got good rapport with Jeremy Renner.
You're a Hawkeye!
Who the hell are you?
Some people have actually called me the world's greatest archer.
Are you one of those people?
However, the show around it just feels a bit ho-hum. I think this is more in line with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, more than WandaVision, which was both released earlier this year. WandaVision set up a new chapter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe films that will complement the viewing experience, whereas this Hawkeye series, much like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, could have just been a 2-hour film. This is show ran and developed by a guy called Jonathan Inger, who has actually some impressive credits to his name. He was executive story writer on Mad Men, which is, one of the best TV shows of our time. And he has other credits on Masters of Sex and Bridgerton. Not so great. And he's now been given his own Marvel TV show, which is great. And I don't think the writing or the directing is anything that's wrong with Hawkeye. I think it is just the fact that you're watching it thinking, oh, here we are again. You've lured me in thinking that I have to watch this to get the most out of the MCU. And yet, it could have just been many episodes shorter.
So is it a binge or a bin?
It's a disappointing one. I think there was promise there, but Hawkeye is a bin.
This is too dangerous. Definitely not this one.
You don't have to say definitely like that. Holy shit!
So True Story is a new thriller series on Netflix, which is currently number 3 on the streamer, but knowing what other shows have been on that list before, it's not always the greatest endorsement. The show stars US comedian Kevin Hart playing a lightly fictionalized version of himself. He's like a hugely successful comic called The Kid, and he, after like a string of big successes, he's returning to his hometown in Philadelphia. It kind of feels like you're settling in for a drama with some like light hints of comic relief. And then it takes this incredibly sudden, weird left turn and it becomes this like silly crime caper. You just wish it had kind of stayed in its lane. So Wesley Snipes, who is best known for his role in the Blade trilogy, plays Carlton, who is the kid's older brother. And he's a bad influence, and on a night out, he encourages the kid to fall off the wagon, and the next day he wakes up and there's a dead woman in his bed.
What's the problem? We got a situation. What was the situation?
Pardon me, sir. These detectives would like to speak with you.
It's literally a premise that we have seen time and time again, and this doesn't do much to like refresh it. The rest of the series, which is 7 episodes when it definitely could have been like a 90-minute film, shows the two brothers trying to cover up their mess and get into more mess, and it's just like an unending cycle of silliness. So the show's writer and executive producer is Eric Newman. He did like Dawn of the Dead and The Last Exorcism Part 1 and 2, but more recently he did Netflix's smash hit series Narcos and also its spin-off Narcos Mexico. Both of them were really fantastic and plausible as well, which is why it was weird that True Story feels like so unreal to a point that it could be parody, but it doesn't lean into that enough to like let it go that far. I can't suspend my disbelief enough to buy into this story that they're trying to sell me.
Wow, that was pretty damning. So would you say True Story is a binge or a bin?
It's sadly a bin.
The next move better be a smart one.
Let me tell you.
So here on Binge or Bin, we like to highlight the hidden gems we think you should be watching, the shows you might not have heard of, and we think you should fast track to the top of your list. So my hidden gem this week is Rectify, which ran for 4 seasons from 2013 to 2016. And the thing with Rectify is it's the kind of show that if it had been thrown on Netflix or a streaming service in the UK, in the same way that Breaking Bad had done, I think it would have been one of the most revered shows of our time. There's a guy called Daniel who is imprisoned. He's on death row for killing a teenage girl when he was a teenager. But he has the conviction overturned after 20 years and returns to his family home. Obviously, it's not all plain sailing. His assimilation into society isn't as easy as you would expect.
Daniel Holden confessed to killing Hannah. The sentence was vacated on a DNA technicality, which sure as hell does not make him an innocent man.
Now that I'm here in this world, don't have it figured out yet.
That's where the charm from Rectify comes, is that a lot of the shows would focus on the build-up to that decision, whereas this shows the aftermath of the effects this decision has on this guy and the family and the community surrounding him. And the cast are so up to the task. You have Aidan Young, who plays Daniel, who hasn't really been in another role that is actually well known in the UK. He's a Canadian-American actor. So Rectify is really the one to get you to sink your teeth into. His sister is played by Abigail Spencer, who you might know from Suits and the TV show Timeless. And his mum, J. Smith Cameron, turns in a wonderful performance as his mother, and she's best known currently as Jerry in Succession. It's created by Ray McKinnon, who is an actor known for Deadwood. He played Reverend Smith. And most recently, he's in Dope Sick. He plays the father of Caitlin Dever's character. And the writing is just really accurately done, you can tell. And it provides a snapshot for this southern town in America. Really sumptuously shot as well and directed. I think it's a really wonderful show.
You've got to decide, after all that suffering, after all that punishment, whether you deserve a life or not.
I didn't think it would end this way.
So my hidden gem this week is Community. So the series ran for 110 episodes across 6 seasons from 2009 to 2015. It's just a really good, dependable, solid comedy. So it stars Joel McHale as Jeff Winger, this kind of sleazy former lawyer who gets disbarred and then has to go to community college to finally get his law degree. And he kind of arrives there as this cool guy, thinking that he is kind of above it all and above everyone there. And then he meets this motley crew of outsiders and they form a study group, and it all sounds really cheesy and lame, but it's so funny.
Listen up, men. Keep an extra deep lookout for the Greendale 7. I won't have them ruining my 25th birthday.
I'm feeling more normal already.
And that's like part of the plot, and that's the only part that is like explainable, because the rest of it can get quite wacky and there are lots of premises, and it gets quite meta at points, referencing to itself as a TV show. And it is really silly, but it's silly in a clever way. You've got this ensemble cast and there's not a weak link among them. So you've got Gillian Jacobs, who most recently starred in Netflix's Fear Street trilogy, Alison Brie, who was in Promising Young Woman, Danny Pudi, who plays Abed, who is this film fanatic, and he kind of lends the show a lot of its meta edge. So you've also got Donald Glover, who's also known as Childish Gambino, the Grammy Award-winning rapper, and it's just funny to see him in this role as Troy. There's also Yvette Nicole Brown as Shirley, and also comedy legend Chevy Chase plays a big role in this too. Community is written by Dan Harmon, who is also the creator of Adult Swim's hit series Rick and Morty, and while the jokes aren't copy and paste, there's definitely a through line with Dan Harmon's humor, and I think if you like one of the shows, you'll like the other. It is prime binge material.
Look, Tiny Riot gear!
Thanks so much for watching Binge or Bin. There's a couple of things there for you to avoid, but some great things, especially for you music lovers, to tuck into till we see you again next time. Like or comment below, and subscribe for more from Independent TV.